What is going on, guys? It's YuGiOh Bros, and today we have a versus video featuring the one and only my Valentine versus Alexis Rhodes. Duelists, are you ready? Our opponent is on Machine Angel Ascension. We are on Battle City Siren. New card from the Streets of Battle City box. This card says, once per turn during the main phase, you can change the battle position of one monster your opponent controls. This turn, the first attack you declare must target that monster. This skill can be used twice per duel. It's an interesting effect. Obviously, you can play cards, which we'll get to in a second, as to why they benefit this skill. Machine Angel Ascension is a skill that says once per turn during your main phase, you can use one of these skills, but each can only be used once per duel. You can either discard a spell, then add a Cyber Angel Ritual monster or Machine Angel Ritual spell from deck to hand, or shuffle a Cyber Angel Ritual monster or a Machine Angel Ritual spell from your grave back into your deck. So, little recursion, little consistency boost. I will say, I've been scared of this deck ever since it's been released. There is so much the deck can do. It's so resilient. It basically replaced XYZ when XYZ fell off the map for being the most competitive deck in the format, and the problem I have with it is the ban list that goes into effect, I think, in a week from now, arguably makes it better than it already was. Until then, though, we don't have to worry about that, though. I'd still worry about it as much as possible. We're going to go second here, so they're going to start out with a Sonic Bird. Sonic Bird on the normal or flip adds a ritual spell from deck to hand. That gets them the Machine Angel Ritual, and they will pass on that. We're going to draw into Sphere Karibo. We're going to shuffle it up, normal summon this Enraged Battle Ox. Enraged Battle Ox gives all our Beast Warriors and Wing Beasts piercing if they hit a defense monster, but we only play him because he's the strongest that's not Spear Dragon who puts himself in defense mode. They're going to draw into Izana. They're going to use the skill here first, pitching a random spell, of course. Pitching a spell, of course, to add Cyber Angel Ben 10 to hand. Then they're going to activate Machine Angel Ritual, tribute the Ben 10, summon an Ida 10, and both Ida 10 and Ben 10 will trigger. Ida 10 on a ritual summon adds a ritual spell from deck or grave to hand, which is the consistency. And then Ben 10 adds any late fairy, so they're going to add a Senju from deck to hand. They're then going to normal summon that Senju. Senju will trigger and add a Cyber Angel Ida 10 to hand, and as you can see, where this deck gets crazy, they're going to then tribute both for another Ida 10. Now, here's an interesting statement. They actually can't over tribute for ritual summons, and I guess we didn't pick up on that in the duel, but I will showcase later where it actually doesn't matter in this game. I believe they thought they were going to go Izana, and then they ended up switching it up last second. They tributed the Senju on accident. So Ida 10, when it's tributed, gives all your ritual monsters you control 1,000 attack and defense, and it's permanent, and that's what's crazy about this card. So this goes up to 26 because of this one was tributed. They're going to swing over to the Enraged, but we're going to activate Sphere Karibo to put that in defense mode. We're going to draw into Windstorm of Itaqua. Haven't seen this much since the beginning of Speed Duels, although it does pop up here and there. Card is still really, really good. It changes all the battle positions of face-up monsters our opponent controls, and you'll see obviously why that matters in a second. We're going to activate Hammer Shot to start out the turn here, which destroys a monster on the field with the highest attack. And they will banish the Machine Angel Ritual in grave, which says if a light monster you control would be destroyed by battle card effect while it's in the grave, you can banish this card instead. Really, really good effect. But we use the Hammer Shot to bait that out. So then we have Drillroid, which we normal summon here, and we go to battle phase and we attack it, which Drill says before damage calc, if it attacks a defense, you destroy the defense monster. So that'll automatically destroy the Ida 10, even though it had 3,000 defense. And then we're going to swing in directly for 17 with our Enraged. Keep in mind, if it was Senju there, we would only have done 300. But again, I'll show you why it doesn't matter in a second. They're going to draw into another Izana. They're going to activate Machine Angel Ritual, send Izana for Izana. They're going to activate Izana on summon. This card is crazy. If you've never read it before, when this card is ritual summoned, you can make your opponent send a spell or trap they control to the grave. So it's the opponent, not like it. It's not even affecting it. It's the opponent. When it attacks and destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the grave, you can activate this effect. This card can make a second attack on monsters in a row, so also wild. And then lastly, if it wasn't crazy enough, once per turn when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a Cyber Angel Ritual monster you control. Quick effect, you can shuffle a ritual monster from your grave into the deck, and if you do, destroy a card your opponent controls. Yes, it doesn't stop the effect from resolving that you're using on the monster, but the destruction is non-targeting, if that wasn't crazy enough. And then you can do things like recycle the one of Ben 10 that is currently, it's on the 3 list with the Angel Ritual, but you wouldn't not play 2 of that and 1 of that. It's just literally how it works. So they're going to summon Izana on summon. We're going to activate the Windstorm because otherwise we lose it. So they will pass back to us. We draw into Shield Crush. We will activate Shield Crush. Shield Crush literally just says target a defense monster on the field, destroy that target. It's really good in this deck because it basically says destroy any monster, because we have this skill twice per duel that can switch things to defense. So Shield Crush, when you draw it early, literally just pops anything, assuming you use the skill to switch the monster. But obviously we also play other cards in this deck that switch our opponent's monsters to defense to make this card work out a little bit easier. So we're going to try and Shield Crush, but they are going to save it with the spell in the graveyard. Then we are going to go to battle phase, have this Droid automatically pop it in damage calculation. Then this Rage will swing for 17, which would put them down to 300. But keep in mind, if they still had the Senju previous, then they'd actually be at 1400, and this actually would be exact game. So that's why the Senju didn't ultimately matter, but food for thought for the future. So going into the side deck, we have Memory Loss, an interesting card that really never sees play in speed duels. It says when in attack position, a monster your opponent controls activates its effect, negate the effect, and if you do, change that face-up monster to defense position. We're going to start out by setting 3 and passing back. We also sided in a Mind Crush, which you'll happily see in a second. They're going to draw for turn. They're going to shotgun this Night Beam by rolling and hitting our middle card, which is Memory Loss. So we don't even get to see it, unfortunately. They'll normal summon this Senju, activate its effect, search a Ben 10. Keep in mind, if the Memory Loss was live, we could have used it on that, which would have been really, really good, but you can also use it on the Rituals, which we're also saving it for. They're going to activate the Ritual spell. We're going to save the Mind Crush here. Usually you don't want to do it right away. You usually use it for their next summon. They also, a lot of the time, will set this early, so that if you do Mind Crush and they had extra copies, they don't lose the extra copies. They're going to tribute the Ben 10 for the I to 10, and then Ben 10 will trigger, and I to 10 will trigger. They'll get the spell back from the deck, and they will get an I to 10 from the deck with Ben 10. Then we will activate the Mind Crush on the ad there of the spell called Machine Angel Ritual. So now their hand is quote-unquote dead. Of course, they're going to shuffle back this Machine Angel Ritual, so they still have one in the deck for the future. But then they're going to go to battle phase, swing for 14, and try to hit us for 16, but we're going to happily Book of Moon that. I don't know if that was the right order into what we would do here. I just didn't want to book this because this counts if it's flip summon to add a ritual monster, and I did not want to give them that option. We draw into Shield Crush though, so this works out. We're going to pop the Idison, which they can't save because it's face down, so this can't tell if it's a light monster, which is nice. And then we're going to Hammer Shot the Senju, which is terrible, I understand, but with desperate times, they're going to draw for turn and draw into Night Beam. They will activate the skill, sending the Night Beam to the grave. Since it is a spell card for Machine Angel Ritual, they will activate that, send the Izana for the Iditen, because Izana is level 8, so you can't tribute the Iditen for it, just isn't enough. So it's a unfortunate and desperate play, but they still get Iditen's effect to get the Ritual spell back to the hand. And they can punch for damage. Since we don't have anything, it's probably the smartest thing they could have done. And then they just have to hope that we don't top deck something relevant. Unfortunately for them, we draw Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer, which actually works out really, really well here. We're going to punch over that for 200. Now, keep in mind, Kaiku will not be able to banish this card because it won't actually go to the grave until after Kaiku's effect is finished resolving, so we get to banish the 2 monsters in the grave, which are both Ben 10 and Ida 10. I want to keep them off the Ben 10 and more boosts off Ida 10 if possible. They're going to then draw into an Ida 10, activate Machine Angel Ritual, tribute an Ida 10 for an Ida 10, Ida 10 triggers, and that Ida 10 triggers, so their monster goes up by 1,000, and they get the Ritual spell back once again. Why did they make this deck better off the next list? I don't understand. I don't understand at all. We are playing old lists though, so it doesn't really matter here. They're going to punch over our monster for 800, and we are top decking once again. And we top deck into Reversible Beetle. This is an interesting card, guys. We'll explain what it does in a second. They're going to draw for turn, hit a Sonic Bird. They're going to then go to battle phase, have their Idison swing over our Reversible Beetle, except Reversible Beetle will then trigger, which says flip, shuffle this card, and any monsters in its column into the decks. Really works out here. Also, this card says if it's normal or special, you can change this card and any monster in its column to face down defense position, so it makes cards like Nomina Crossout and Shield Crush live in our deck, depending on what goes. Unfortunately, we can't stop the Sonic Bird from punching us, and that unfortunately just results in a game. Little added known effect, if Reversible Beetle is getting attacked and would be destroyed, unfortunately he doesn't shuffle back, but the thing that is in the column still does. So, going into game 3, I understand we haven't seen our skill in action yet, but keep in mind it obviously has the synergy in the deck. They're going to normal Sonic Bird and pass. Once again, we're going to draw into Kaiku. A little early for this card, but we'll play it nonetheless. It gets over the bird. We will do just that, and then they will go to their turn. Drawing into a Ben 10, of course, conveniently, of course, why not? Activate the ritual spell, tribute both Ben 10 and the Sonic Bird in hand for Izana. Izana will trigger here to make us send a Speller Trap. Then they will activate Ben 10's effect. We're going to Memory Loss. Now we can finally see Memory Loss in all its glory. The Izana, this doesn't target too, which is nice, so they can't get their last effect there. So we don't have to send a Speller Trap. We can totally Rave, and it puts their monster in defense. But their Ben 10 still will search and get them another copy of Izana, and it kind of gets them around how they do this. They're going to shuffle in one of the ritual spells, then they're going to activate the Machine Angel ritual, tribute the Izana that's basically negated for the turn for another Izana, and that one unfortunately is live, so we will have to chain this Windstorm on the summon, and we will draw into Book of Moon. This is kind of convenient how this works out, so we're going to book that. They're going to unfortunately chain its effect, shuffling Ben 10 back into the deck to destroy our Kaiku. But now this Snowman Crossout can out this card immediately. The Shield Crush couldn't, well, it could, but they could have banished this from the graveyard to protect it. So they are in top deck mode. They draw into a creature swap, can't do anything about that, so they will pass. We draw into a reversible beetle. We love this card to death, but we think it's probably safe we just put it in defense. Thinking about it more logically, I actually probably would have just held it. We have 4,000 life points. I don't think they're going to OTK us, and so by that logic, we could just hold it, and then when they put something relevant in a certain column, we could then set it in the subsequent column going into the future, depending on what we had, of course, and keep it as a defense. We draw into Drillroid, though. We'll normal summon that, swing for 1,600, and they will happily take it. They can't do anything about it. They're going to draw into Senju. That really works out for them. They will search a ritual spell. This deck is so consistent. Or a ritual monster. This deck is so consistent. They're going to add the Ben 10 to hand. They're then going to activate the skill, sending creature swap from their hand to the grave to add Machine Angel Ritual, of course. Right on time. Activate it, tributing the Ben 10 for the I to 10. Both, of course, will then trigger. They will get the ritual spell back from the grave, and Ben 10 will add them a copy of Izana. And I think you guys have seen the same song and dance before. They're going to then tribute both their monsters for the Izana. Then, of course, the I to 10 triggers, giving this thing 1,000 permanently, and now they can attack twice if they kill a monster, which they will exactly do. We take 1,900, not 19,000. Hold on, let's fix this real quick. There we go. Okay, and then they will activate its effect to attack once again, and hey, it's Reversible Beetle. How about that? So that thing will happily go back to the deck, and what's nice is that they've used both their ritual spells, so unless they have a way to get it back, and I believe, yep, they are out of Angel Ascensions, so they are arguably locked under not being able to ritual summon for the rest of the game, which is really nice against Machine Angel. If you ever play against a good Cyber Angel player, they will get themselves in a position where that usually can't happen. But they did kind of go for broke here with that last play, and unfortunately it did cost them because of our beautiful Reversible Beetle. We're going to draw into Sphere Karibo, which does a whole lot of nothing, so we will pass. They draw into Offerings, they'll set that and pass. We will draw a Hammer Shot, which does nothing, so we will pass. They'll draw into a Sonic Bird. They will normal summon that. They can't search anything, but they will swing for 14. We're going to take it. We feel like we probably can. We'd rather save the Sphere for something more relevant. We're going to draw into Book of Moon, activate the Hammer Shot and the Sonic Bird, because we can. Set this Book of Moon and pass. They're going to draw into an I to 10, and they'll pass. And then we're going to draw into Mind Crush, and we'll set that and pass. And they're going to draw into Fairy Meteor Crush, and set that as a bluff and pass. I'm going to draw into a second Sphere Karibo, which, I mean, I understand I could normal summon. I just really don't. It's not good. We have 700 life. We're going to draw into Sasuke Samurai. Guys, how long has it been since you've seen this card? This card has the similar effect to Drillroid at the start of the damage step. If it attacks a face-down defense monster, it destroys that defense monster. Keep in mind, he says at the start of the damage step. I believe Drillroid says before damage calculation, so it's a little different, but close enough. It's just a fourth copy of Drillroid in this deck. They don't have anything for it though, so we're gonna punch for 500, and they'll draw into Night Beam, which shotguns and hits our Book of Moon, but they still can't stop us. So then we draw into Kaiku, so let's try to capitalize on this. Oh, just kidding, they have Offerings to the Doomed. Alright, well I guess it's Sasuke Samurai's turn. We'll do another 500 in 2 more turns. Puts them on a 2-turn clock. We'll see where we can go with this. Right, they can't draw, due to the Offerings. So we'll draw Book, set that, and swing for another 500. Last ditch effort on their part. They draw into Senju, they will normal summon that, try to swing over our Sasuke, but obviously we have a lot of ways to stop that. We will Sphere Karibo, we draw into Windstorm, we're going to activate Shield Crush on this Senju. We're going to then set the Windstorm, go to battle phase, and have a Sasuke, believe it or not, this guy, this card, how long has it been? Swing for game. So let's talk about the deck list. We actually never activated the skill, which would make you wonder why, then show you the replay. Well, the concept is there, and you guys saw how it worked, so I figure just take with it as you will. We obviously had enough effects resolved that just switched things to defense, where we never needed it to go off, but the concept, like I said. The deck is mostly things that deal with things in defense, but we wanted one generic beat stick that deals with stuff, and the options that I came down to at the end, because we can't play Breaker because we're on triple Book of Moon, were Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer, or Cryon the Mage, which is Breaker the Magical Warrior, kind of. It's once per turn you can discard a spell, then target a spell or trap your opponent controls and destroy that target. It's not great, but we do have a lot of quote-unquote dead spells in here. We ended up not playing it, we ended up just going with Dust Tornado in the side deck, but this card isn't bad for sure. We just didn't want to add more normal summons to the deck. We already have enough as it is. The concept is there, if you get where I'm going with it. Also, you could play Tenki in here, arguably, if you wanted to go that route, and then Tenki could grab the Battle Ox or the Cryon, which, I mean, that's an interesting play for sure. If you really value the Enraged Battle Ox. There also is the option on the topic of something searchable through Tenki, Phantom Beast Wildhorn, which does the exact same thing. It does piercing only for himself, of course, but his defense is 0, so I just figured 1,000 defense over 0 defense, and it gives all our other Beast Warriors and Winged Beasts piercing. If you play the Cryon in the deck, and you have this out, they both do piercing, so it just ends up being better than this card. But so that's why we're playing Kaiku. Then it's 2 Enraged Battle Ox because he does piercing, triple Drillroid because he pops anything in defense, which is crazy. Sasuke Samurai does the exact same thing, it's our 4th copy. 1 Reversible Beetle, you've seen why this card's good already. Triple Sphere Karibo because not only does it stall, it puts things in defense mode. Double Hammer Shot because the biggest thing in this deck is only 1800, so likely will get outclassed by almost anything we play against. Triple Shield Crush, this card is obviously the best card in the deck. Triple Nobleman of Crossout, it's less powerful because it has to target a face down defense monster, but between them setting monsters in face down defense, using Book of Moon, and using Reversible Beetle's effect, this usually works out, but it's an easy side out if you want to side 1 or 2 out going into game 2s and 3s. Triple Book of Moon, obviously it's pretty self-explanatory, and then the 1 Windstorm, we play this as a 1-of because the concept is once your opponent sees this once, they will realistically never put all their monsters in attack mode again, attacking you if they feel like they need to kind of go for an onslaught, which is great because you only play 1. So the concept is you flip this once and then they're very hesitant on how they attack you going forward, which just allows you to prolong stuff but also puts some of their stuff in defense. And then in the side deck we play 1 Amazon Swordswoman. This card is good because if you put something in defense mode that has high defense on your opponent's field, then you can just repeatedly have Swordswoman punch into it and they would take all the battle damage that you would take. It's good against specific cards. You could also arguably side something like Santa Claus if you wanted to play a Kaiju type card in this deck. He comes onto your opponent's field in defense, has to be defense, and he has 25, and then you can just have this consecutively punch in it for 1,000. The downside is Santa Claus will give the opponent an extra draw on the end phase, so just keep that in mind. You could also do Lava Golem as well, but then you can't normal summon or set that turn, so it comes with the ups and downs. We played a 2nd Reversible Beetle just in case. Putting a monster face down is really strong, but also, like, as you've seen, if your opponent is not playing around columns, cute little interaction here. On Dueling Book specifically, if you're playing speed duels, the box that's usually checked on you choosing zones isn't checked when it comes to speed specifically. You have to manually check it, so if people aren't manually doing that, the computer will always just put their first monster on the field in the middle zone, so you can kind of play into that by putting your Reversible Beetle in the middle zone and kind of having them play into it until they realize they have to check the box. I feel like eventually they'll realize this and they'll automatically put it on check the box in the beginning, but just keep that in mind if you're playing Dueling Book for now. 1 Memory Loss, as you saw why. It's cute, it's not amazing, but it does what it does, it negates something. It's quite literally, I think, the only trap that just negates something and puts it in the position we want it in. 1 Mind Crush because it's probably the best side deck card in the game currently right now, and then the double Dust Tornado just because we don't have Spell and Trap hate in the main deck. But guys, let me know what you thought in the comments down below. Let me know what you loved, let me know what you hate, let me know all those thoughts down below, and I'd love to have the conversation with you. And I've seen all the comments about putting both deck lists in the videos, so we'll go back to doing that. I just want to refrain it for the Cyber Angel deck since the list hits it in a week. And with that, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.
For more amazing speed duel content, Subscribe to YuGiOh Bros. It's time to duel!